Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I'm here with my friend, my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Tracy, we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our special guest today is Dr. Noah St. John. Dr. Noah St. John is known worldwide as a zero friction doctor and the father of Affirmations, working with Hollywood celebrities, professional athletes, and 8 and 9 figure CEOs. Noah is famous for helping people make more in just 12 weeks than they made in the previous 12 months while winning their lives back. He's also a #1 best-selling author of 25 books.
Wow.
Dr. Noah, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
25 bucks.
Yep.
Okay. There is so much to unpack here. I'm so excited.
hmm
Let's start with your origin story. Like how did you come to do what you do today? We want to know.
Well, absolutely. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. But long story short, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. And I know that's a total cliche, but it's totally true. I grew up in this little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which happens to be one of the wealthiest communities in New England, in fact, in the entire country. But my family was dirt poor. And I mean that literally because we lived at the bottom of a dirt road in a drafty, unfinished house that my parents ended up losing to foreclosure when I was just 15 years old. So, from a very young age, I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm between the haves and the have nots. The haves was everyone else in the community, and the have nots was my family. Now, I'm sure we've all heard motivational speakers or whatever get up on stage and they'll say things like, well, we were poor, but we were happy. We didn't know we were poor. Well, in my family, we freaking knew we were poor because my mother, bless her heart, reminded us every day that we were poor and miserable. So, no, it wasn't happy, it sucked. And so, from a very young age, I hated being poor. I hated that life of poverty and fear and lack and not enoughness. That's what I grew up with because I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So I said from the time I was a little kid, how the heck do I get from here to there? Now, of course, there was no one there to help me. There was no internet or anything back then, all the things we have today. So I did the only thing I could think of, which is I went to the library and I read every book in the self-help section. I just went to the self-help section and read every book because I realized if I want something different, I got to do something different. I got to work on myself. I got to do something. And so I read all the classics, Dale Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Stephen Covey. And I just read over 300 self-help books, and they all basically said the same thing, set your goals and think positive and work hard. They all basically say the same thing. So I did that. I mean, I worked hard, I set goals, wrote affirmations, I did everything that the book said. But as hard as I tried, as hard as I worked, I couldn't get it together. I couldn't succeed. I wasn't successful. So at the age of 25, I've been reading all these books and trying all these things for so many years. And you know what? I was so frustrated that at one day when I was 25 years old, I decided to take my own life. I decided to commit suicide because I was looking at the next 40 years of my life and I said, you know what? I don't want to be here. And I was about to do that. And at the very last moment, my life was spared. Now, I didn't know why. And so I realized I have to find out what is my purpose here on the earth? Why am I here? I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went back to the library and I read every book in the spiritual section. So I read hundreds of spiritual books to find my life's purpose. So fast forward 5 years later, in 1997, I had these epiphanies after reading hundreds of self-help books and spiritual books. And I realized this is what was missing that no one was talking about. And I knew that because I'd read every book. And no one was talking about that. I said, oh my gosh, this is my message. This is my mission. This is my purpose. And so I wrote my very first book. It was called Permission to Succeed, way back in 1998. And then it was subsequently published by the Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher in 1999. And now, all these years later, as you mentioned, I've written 25 books, and I'm actually the only author in history that's had works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Mind Valley, Nightingale Conant, and the chicken soup for the sole publisher. No other author in history has ever done that. Not Tony Robbins, not Wayne Dyer, not Deepak Chopra, just little old me. So,
Wow.
and more importantly than that is we've helped our clients add over $3 billion collectively, meaning adding multiple six figures, seven figures, eight figures, and yes, even nine figures. And literally helping people win their lives back. So it's really very fun, very rewarding that what we get to do today, and I'm privileged to help and coach and teach and speak speak at conferences to teams, organizations all around the country and all around the world. So that's how I got here.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that backstory, Dr. Noah. Um, I love that you brought that purpose in and that you went the spiritual direction
Mhm.
to kind of find it and really were on the edge of losing your life basically without finding what's the
Mhm.
meaning of life or what the purpose is in your life. And I think all of us go through, maybe not to the level of catharsis that you went through or
Mhm.
epiphany you went through, of why am I here? What's the meaning of
Mhm.
life? What is my purpose? Can you help us define that purpose? What is this purpose in your life?
Well, what I realized, one of the epiphanies that I had back in 1997, and that I've been teaching to over 2 million people now subsequently over the last 3 decades, is that highly successful people are doing things that they don't even know they're doing, number one, and therefore, number two, they can never teach it to you. So the point is, one of my teachings that I'm known for is called power habits. Okay, the official name is the power habits of unconsciously successful people. So we've all heard things about habits like Seven Habits of Highly Successful People and Atomic Habits and things like that. So there's tons and tons of habits training out there, and it's all great. There's only one problem, that what they're doing is they're talking about the conscious habits of successful people. Now, the problem with that is not that anything is wrong, it's just that it's not complete. So when we look at the iceberg principle of human behavior, I'm sure everyone listening to this program has heard of that. And what it means is that we humans, about 5% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions are conscious, like the top part of the iceberg that you can see sticking out of the water, right? That's the conscious mind, conscious behavior. Well, the vast 95%, the part you don't see, is the unconscious, the subconscious. So you got the 95% in the subconscious, the 5% in the conscious. So with the other habit trainings that are out there, they're teaching on the 5% while totally ignoring the 95%. So the way that I put it to my audience members, and teams that when I train them and I'm doing keynote speeches, I'll say to them, I'll show them the iceberg, 5% versus 95, and I'll say, why don't you just think about it this way? Imagine you're going into battle and you have five guys fighting 95 guys. Who do you think's going to win that battle? And of course,
Mhm.
everybody realizes the 95 guys, right? But only every time. So I always say, if you're happy with what you're doing, then keep doing it. If you want something different, if you're not happy with the results you're getting, if you want to get more in your life, well, then we need to look at the 95, meaning the subconscious. That's because that's where all the real transformation happens. So that's really what makes my power habit system different.
Wow.
Rebecca, he's speaking your language as a
You're
behavior.
definitely speaking my language as a behavioral scientist and many years ago a therapist to entrepreneurs, Dr. Noah. But that kind of throws this question up when you talk about this 5% versus the
Mhm,
95% conscious versus unconscious or
mhm,
subconscious, how you want
mhm.
to call it. Um, how does that relate to willpower? Because when I think of willpower, I think of discipline and
Right.
consciously doing something. Is that part of all this?
Well, what I teach my clients and my audience members is willpower is the worst way to try to change a habit that you'll ever try. Now, we've all heard a million times that if you want to change a habit, all you need to do is use willpower.
Hmm.
Sure. That's why New Year's resolutions work so well, right?
Oh, yeah.
They always work. Right? Every New Year, every New Year's, right? On January 1st, say, oh, I'm going to get organized. I'm going to stop smoking, stop drinking. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get, all these things we're going to do. And of course, they don't happen, right? As I always say, January 2nd, the gyms are full. By January 30th, they're empty again, because people are trying to use willpower. So it's not that willpower is wrong or bad. It's just a weak muscle, right? So let me give you an example. So imagine you're in your kitchen right now, right? So everyone listening, just imagine with me. So imagine you're in your kitchen and somebody walks into the kitchen and they have a freshly baked tray of chocolate chip cookies that just came out of the oven, and you can smell the cookies and you're looking at them like, and your mouth starts to water. You're like, oh boy, does that smell good? That looks great. And then they say to you, okay, now listen, I have to go to the store, so I'm going to put these cookies here. Now, don't eat a cookie. Whatever you do, do not eat a cookie. We're having those later, so don't eat a cookie. And they leave. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to eat 12 cookies, right? You're going to be like Cookie Monster. You're going to go crazy. Why? Because that's what willpower is like. It's you saying to you, don't do that thing that you really want to do. Well, as human beings, we don't like to be told what to do and what not to do. We don't like to deprive ourselves of anything, do we? So that's why willpower, it's not that it doesn't work. It's just a weak, it's like trying to, lift a 200-pound weight with your pinky. It's not very good. So what do I do that's different? Well, one of the things we do with my power habit system is I teach you what a habit really is, right? Once you understand what a habit actually is, then you can change it very easily without having to use willpower. So that's, a big part of what we do with my power habits training, whether it's for teams or organizations or individuals, right? So that's why we've helped a lot of people to, quit smoking, overcome addiction, find love when they thought that they could never find love again, lose weight, and I mean, many, many other things. And especially one of the biggest things, by the way, is procrastination, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest habit that let's say when it's one-on-one or group clients, when they hire me, that's one of the biggest habits that people say, gee, I'd really like to change that. And what is procrastination? Well, procrastination is when you should be doing something and instead you do something else, right? That's how many of us are guilty of that? Everybody, right? But you got to look at what that's really costing you, right? What's that really costing you? So that's one of the things we start with is, okay, well, what is this costing you? I'll give you a quick example of that. I was talking with one of my clients named Charles. Now, he actually had read my Power Habits book. He told me the story of how he found me. He told me that he walked by my book in Barnes & Noble 3 times. He just kept walking by it. And something called out to him about this book, my book. And he bought it. And then, he read half the book. And then he contacted me on my website and he decided to hire me to coach him. So I said to him, I asked him a question that I ask all of my clients, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching. And I said, Charles, how much do you think it's costing you right now if we don't put these habits in place? In other words, how much do you think it's costing you to be holding yourself back from the success you're capable of? And without batting an eye, he said $1 million. Noah, it's easily costing me $1 million just to be, not installing these habits that you talk about. And I said, Charles, it's very common. Every day I talk to people who say, Noah, this is costing me $1 million, $2 million or more to not have these things in place, to not have this installed. So that's number one. And number two, I said, why don't you just give me 10% of that million and I'll find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. And now he had been, watching my videos. He'd gone to my website, seen, the hundreds and hundreds of case studies we have. So he knew that I wasn't just blowing smoke. I wasn't just talking. I'm like, we've proven this over 30 years, to the tune of $3 billion and more. So he literally decided to hire me on the spot, paid me $100K. That's 10% of $1 million, right? So he invested $100K for one-on-one coaching with me. Well, as it turns out, I coached him. And as it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him 1.8 million in just 10 months. So he gave me $1. I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. And
a good return on the investment.
Exactly, right, exactly. And he actually emailed me and said, hey, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. He said, this is a dream I've had for the last 20 years. He said, we always wanted to buy an RV and travel the country, but I never had the time or the money before. And he said, now, thanks to coaching with you, we are making more money than ever before, so we bought a new RV. He said, but even better, we have more time. We're making more and we have more time than ever before. We're traveling the country, having a great life. And he literally said, thank you, Noah, for changing my life. So that's how powerful these power habits really are.
That's amazing. I'm sure that our audience is definitely going to want to know your secret sauce. So they'll definitely have to get the book. What is it? Power Habits, right?
Yes. So if you go to my website, noahstjohn.com, and there's a page there that says books, and you can just shop there, or just go on Amazon or anywhere books are sold, and just the book is called Power Habits, or powerhabitsbook.com. I have 200 domains. I won't give you all of them, I promise. But anyway, so Power Habits is the name of the book. And yeah, I think you can see it back there. Yeah, that's the one, Power Habits.
Before we get too technical, I have a very simple question for you.
Yes. Yes.
So your first book is named Permission to Succeed.
Yes.
Who's giving the permission? Is it God? Is it you? Are they giving the permission to themselves? I've got to know who's giving the permission.
Yes, yes. Well, that was one of my light bulb moments, back in 1997. That was my year of epiphanies. But what I realized is that, I shared the story of how I read all those self-help books, right?
Right.
And they all talk about how to succeed, right? Now, that's perfectly logical, right? If you want to learn how to do something, it's good to know how to do the thing, right? Well, I want to succeed. How to succeed makes perfect sense. It's logical. Here's the problem. We humans aren't logical. I just talked about the 5%, the 95%. So everyone on planet Earth wants to be more successful. Well, then why isn't everyone successful? There must be something else going on that they aren't telling us. And in fact, it's what I discovered 30 years ago. It's not that we need to know how to succeed. It's that we need to give ourselves permission to succeed in the first place. And that phrase, permission to succeed, just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never had permission to succeed. And I realized that I couldn't be alone in this. I knew I wasn't the only one, right? Because as Emerson said, what is most personal is most universal. So I knew there had to be millions of people just like me who were, through no fault of their own, unconsciously holding themselves back from the success they're capable of. And so I realized, oh my gosh, it's not more how to succeed. It's we got to give ourselves permission to succeed in the first place. So they already lost us on page one. On page one, they're saying, here's how to succeed. Boom, we already lost it. But see, nobody was aware of this. It was all in the subconscious mind, like I talked about earlier. So that's a big, big reason why I've helped my clients make so much money is, and win their lives back, is because so many people have gone to all the seminars. They've read all the books, similar to my story. And maybe not as many books as I did, but that's okay. The point is that everybody's saying the same thing. How to succeed, how to succeed. Okay, not wrong, but also totally insufficient. And so I realized we have to start on page 0, which is, wait a minute, you've got permission to succeed in the first place, which, believe it or not, millions of people are not aware of or aren't giving themselves that full permission to succeed. So that's really the essence of how I came up with that.
That's great. That's great.
So that kind of takes us into the whole piece about the zero friction doctor. Is not giving ourselves permission part of the friction? Then is that what you're suggesting?
That is definitely part of it. So here's how I teach it to my clients and at my keynote speeches. Okay. So I say for everyone in the audience, I want you to think about your goals. All right. So of course, everybody thinks about their goals, right? So as a franchisor, maybe your goal is to expand to 100 more locations this year, or 500 more, or 50 more, whatever the number is. As a franchisee, maybe your goal is to have a few more locations, or to just make more money, to grow your location, whatever it might be. All right. So we all have goals. Now, we've all heard a million times, right? Set your goals, set your goals. We've heard that a million times. Everybody talks about that. And that's correct, because we humans are goal-oriented organisms. We're always constantly thinking about what we want, whether it's a new house, a new car, more money, a promotion at work, or a ham sandwich for lunch. We're always thinking about what we want. All right, so that's true. But here's what they don't talk about, and that is what happens after you set the goal. This is what people don't talk about, and this is the most important thing. This is, again, going along with, my power habit system, which is, okay, you just said you want this. All right, that's where I want to go. So that's like a destination that you want to reach. In fact, that's exactly what it is. It is a destination. You're here and I want to be there, right? So your goal is a destination. That's precisely what it is. So imagine you're driving in your car. Well, your car is you going from point A to point B, because you want to go there. Even if you want to go down the street to the grocery store, you're going to your destination. Why are you going there? Well, to pick up some milk and eggs. That's your purpose, okay? But imagine if you're driving in your car and you are unconsciously driving down the road of life with one foot on the brake. How long do you think it's going to take you to reach your goal? A long, long, long time. In fact, you might never get there. Meanwhile, you're spending all this time, you're spending all this money, you're spending all this energy. And it's very stressful. You're like, why am I not going anywhere? And so in your car, there are two forces at work. The force of your foot on the gas, which propels you forward. And the second force is the foot on the brake, which slows you down and stops you. Well, the foot on the brake is friction. That is the definition of what stops a car, friction.
Mm.
Well, guess what? That's exactly what is stopping millions of entrepreneurs, people, individuals, franchisees, franchisors, is hidden friction. I call it the invisible brake. The invisible brake in your head that is causing you unconsciously to stop yourself from success. And so all of that is friction. Now, here's what I want people to realize. No franchisee and no franchisor wakes up in the morning and goes, man, I really have a friction problem. But guess what? You do. You're just not aware of it right now until I just said it. Now you're aware of it, right? But nobody's thinking, boy, I really have a friction problem. Yeah, you do, but you don't know it. It's like that toothache, right? It's like, man, my tooth really hurts. I wonder what that is. Well, it's a cavity, right? But you're not thinking, man, I really should get this cavity fixed. You're like, man, my tooth really hurts. That's what you're focused on. You're focused on pain. Well, what is pain? Pain is just a symptom. So what's the cause of the pain? Is the hidden friction, the invisible brake. And that's why I'm known as the zero friction doctor. Because what I do is I go and I say, did you know you had this friction going on? You're like, what? I didn't know that. Boom, we remove the friction. And then we get, like that Charles story I told you a moment ago.
Yeah.
Just exploded. I'll give you another quick story, if I may. I had one entrepreneur from Arizona named Tamisa. Great person. She's really fun. And she was a self-described seminar junkie. That was her term. She was going to all these seminars, right? I'm sure a lot of people can relate, right? Going to all these seminars. And she was doing well in her business, making six figures, doing well. But she could never break through that revenue ceiling. She kept hitting that ceiling no matter how hard she tried, hustled and grinded. And no matter how many seminars she went to. So she actually decided to join my 12-week breakthrough coaching program. That's a group coaching that I have because I'm known for helping people make more than 12 weeks they did in the previous 12 months while winning their lives back. So the program is called the 12-week breakthrough. Well, she joined the 12-week breakthrough. In the first 2 weeks, she tripled her investment. Tripled in 2 weeks. We hadn't even gotten to the money part yet. We were just talking about what I'm talking with you about right now, the friction, the brake, and all of these things. And boom, just with that awareness, tripled in 2 weeks. So that's how powerful this is.
Very cool.
I love the analogy that you're giving of the brake and the gas, because that's exactly what it is. Can you share with us these friction points, for lack of a better way to describe them? Are there some common ones that we have, or are they unique to each person?
Well, they're common and unique. I mean, just like everybody, every human being has a body, but every body, of course, is unique, right? So we all have eyes and ears and things like that. And so, but within that, everyone is unique, like a fingerprint. So, so the way that I look at it is one of the places that we start, whether it's one-on-one or group or even in my keynote speeches, we start with what I call my freedom lifestyle formula. Now, everybody who is in business, whether you're a franchisee or a franchisor, why did you get into business, right? I ask all my clients this, and they all say, well, I want to make money. I want to, help my family. I want to have my kids go to the best schools. Everybody says different things, right? But it's all about the same. But the point is that if you really, really boil it down, what people really want is freedom, right? Isn't that true? We really just want freedom. We want to be free. But the more I dug into that, because, having been doing this for many, many years, I'm like, well, we got to get even deeper there. I can't just say freedom. What does that really mean? And that's when I came up with what I call my freedom lifestyle formula. And it has 4 elements. My freedom lifestyle formula has 4 elements. And those elements are time, energy, relationships, and money, right? Time, energy, relationships, and money. So when you look at those 4 areas, that's where you can actually give yourself what I call a freedom lifestyle score. So everyone listening to this program right now can give yourself the score literally in the next few minutes. So here's how you do it. So first you take the element of time, right? And then all you do is you score yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. How are you doing in the element of time? In other words, are you constantly saying to yourself, gosh, Noah, I've got so much to do, but I don't have enough time in the day. I've got too much to do, too little time. Millions of people can relate to that. On the other hand, you might say, geez, I don't know. I got all the time in the world. I'm out playing golf, playing tennis, playing pickleball, whatever. I got all the time in the world. So that's a scale of 1 to 10, right? So 1 meaning, I got way too much to do, no, not enough time. 10 means got all the time in the world. So that's the element of time. Now, why do we start with time? Well, because time is the most valuable resource that we have. And why is that true? Because it's the only one that can't be replaced.
Right.
All the other elements can be replaced. Time cannot. All of Bill Gates' billions cannot buy 1 minute of yesterday. All right. So time, ironically, is the one thing that we all think we have an infinite amount of. We all think we're going to live forever. Now, having faced death, I know that is not true. You know, in the game of life, Father Time is undefeated, right? So we're all on the ticking clock, sad to say, but that's a fact. So the fact is, I say that to people so that they realize, wait a minute, if I'm wasting time, I'm really wasting the most valuable thing that I have. So maybe we want to look at and adjust our relationship to time. So that's the first one. Second is energy. Energy. How do you go through your day on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 meaning I'm grumpy, I'm angry, I'm frustrated all the time. 10 is like, hey, I'm happy, I'm grateful, I'm joyful. You know, like my wife, she's a 10 all the time. She's always happy, always just joyful. That's one of the reasons I fell in love with her. She's just the happiest, most loving person you ever met. So scale of 1 to 10, energy. Next is relationships. Scale of 1 to 10. How are your relationships doing? You know, 1 is not so great. 10 is I'm surrounded by great people. I'm surrounded by the team members that I want to be with. You know, I get excited being around these people. Now, so also you want to look at your personal and your professional relationships. So there's 2 sides there, and you want to look at both of them. You know, and sometimes you might have to make some tough choices there. We've certainly had to have. I've helped a lot of people through that too. Okay. And then, of course, money. Money is very important. Scale of 1 to 10. How you doing on money? Right. And, you know, people say, well, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. And to them, I would quote the great philosopher David Lee Roth, who said, money may not be able to buy happiness, but it can buy a yacht so you can pull right up next to it.
That's right. That's right. I
Great
agree.
quote. So there you are. Scale of 1 to 10. Time, energy, relationships, and money. Anything below 25. And, you know, we got to get you to the zero friction doctor here. You know, we got to we got to handle that right away, whether it's books, whether it's training, coaching, whatever. But anything under 25, that needs to be attended to right away.
So just getting back to friction for a minute, is friction always self-sabotaging?
Oh, no, not at all. No. I mean, there are many, many, many forms of friction, right? Self-sabotage is one of them. But remember, that's still just a symptom. Self-sabotage is a symptom. It's something that everybody talks about. But see, before me, no one had actually determined and shown, given a system, a framework, a step-by-step fill in the blank of how to stop stopping yourself from success. By the way, did you know what the treatment was before me, before my power habits training was for self-sabotage? If you're sabotaging yourself, don't do that. Oh, thank you. Wow, that's really helpful. I never thought of that. You know? Yeah, but all those books I was reading, that's what they said. Hey, don't do that.
Stop it.
Thanks, buddy. Never thought of that one. You know, what else do you want? Anyway, that was the kind of useless information. You know, don't do that. No kidding, right? So we have to understand that self-sabotage is a symptom. It's not the problem. It's something that happens as a result of the problem. But we've got to solve the problem because, as Thomas Jefferson said, for every 99 that are hacking away at the leaves of truth, there is one striking at the root. And that's what we need to do. We need to strike at the root of what's causing it. And then guess what? The problem goes away.
It's so true. Who's the guy, the comedian that acted as a therapist that would say
Bob
that?
Newhart.
That's right.
Yes.
Bob
Stop it. That was his skit. Stop it. Oh, you know, I feel bad. Stop it. Yeah. I've had that said to me many times. So yeah, it was Newhart. It was great. Great skit.
Yeah, he was funny as heck.
Yes.
For sure. So, do you mind if we back up a little bit?
Sure.
Because
fire away.
we're talking about friction, we're talking about self-sabotage, we're talking about procrastination. Are you familiar with the Stanford project, the marshmallow experiment?
Yes.
And that kind of hit me as you were talking about it when you said the chocolate chip cookies, which would be even more tempting to me than marshmallows, although I love marshmallows.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, this is an issue that a lot of us have, especially in today's generation, where everything is instant gratification.
Right. Precisely.
Right. And do you have any recommendations about learning how to delay gratification, knowing building something is hard work. You're not going to have it tomorrow. You might have it in 12 weeks if you take your program. But either way, you got
Or
to.
two. I mean, Teresa got it in two, so that was nice.
Do you have any recommendations around that, maybe for parents or young people coming up that want this kind of success and may not be willing to put in the effort?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking that. So, those are two very different things when we talk about delayed gratification and procrastination. They might be related, but I don't look at them as related really.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's why. So, when we talk about delayed gratification, that's the marshmallow experiment you're referring to, what that means is here's something that I want and I'm willing to sacrifice in order
Mm-hmm.
to get that thing that I want. Now, that's very different from what most people do when they do procrastination exercises or behaviors, which is they're doing something that is instantaneously gratitude or instant gratification to the brain. So I want everyone listening to this program to realize a few things. Number one of the most common ways that people procrastinate nowadays is social media, right? Doom scrolling, right? Another way is just, watching TV. I mean, so the point is, let's say you're in your business right now, you're in your office and you think about doing something that would help would help your business grow, but it's tough. It's like hard. And you might face that awful, terrible thing called rejection.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe you need to make a phone call. Maybe you need to post a video. Maybe you need to write an article or something like that. Right. Maybe you even need to give a presentation. Right. I'm sure we all know that, public speaking is the number one fear of adults. The fear of death is number 6. So most people would rather die 5 times than speak in public. So
Yep.
the point is, these are things that we know would help us, but we don't want to do them because of fear. So what do? We do the other thing. That's procrastination, right? So that's number one. Number two, I want people to realize that when we talk about social media, for example, these companies exist to addict you. Their job is to addict the human brain. They have engineers working 24/7 to make sure you stay addicted. And talk about online gambling. I mean, here you have a smartphone, the most addictive device ever built by humans, and gambling, the most addictive behavior ever conceived of by humans. Hello, couldn't be a problem, could it? I mean, whoa. So, I mean, just that alone is don't get me started on that. It's really scary, quite frankly, because people are losing their homes, their marriages, everything, just from this online gambling. To me, it's a real problem, and of course, a very huge addiction for millions of people. So the point is that you do that because the brain says it's safe, right? Here I am. Your brain's job, I'm not talking about your frontal cortex. I'm talking about like the lizard brain, right?
Yeah.
The caveman brain back there,
The
the ancient.
reptilian brain. Yeah.
Exactly. That brain's job is to keep you not dead. That's its only job. Make sure you're not dead. Well, what's a great way to keep you not dead? Don't go towards something you're scared of. Because if you're scared of it, it might eat you. Remember, this is a reptilian brain back here, right? It could be a saber-toothed tiger, it could be a woolly mammoth, right? There's not many of those around right now, but that brain is still telling us, don't do that. But meanwhile, in the modern world, in order to grow, we must, by definition, do things that scare us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything you desire is on the other side of fear. I'll say that one more time because I love that quote. Everything you desire is on the other side of fear, meaning you must drive through your fear to get that thing, that destination I've been talking about, that goal. You must drive through. There's no way around that. Because guess what? If you were there, you'd be there and you wouldn't be scared. You're like, oh, I'm already sitting here. How can you be scared of something you're already sitting there? Right? So by definition, it's over there, you're scared. Boom. So your brain goes, how about we go over there? No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is how I teach, the difference between delayed gratification and procrastination. Yes, they're somewhat related, but that's how I teach the difference.
I like that you defined it that way, Dr. Noah, because it really is distinctly different in that way. But it's interesting you talk about risk and fear and everything you want is just beyond that, and yet we sometimes avoid it and do the simple things like scrolling or
That's right.
distractions or whatever we're going to
That's
do.
right.
But even that, we have some of us that are not good at delayed gratification. And then we also procrastinate because we're doing this this kind of thing. But you brought up this fear piece, which I think is another element of it, in that we have a few generations that have been bubble wrapped for risk, right? And so they don't know how to compete. They don't know how to risk. They don't know how to step out. And I'm a little concerned about it myself, especially since we are assessing hundreds of thousands of potential franchisees. Many of them are of these generations that were, I'm calling it bubble wrap, that aren't as capable, you called it a muscle, and I think that's a good way to describe it. They don't have that muscle developed, that tenacity, that risk-taking, et cetera. So I really, really appreciate you defining those three things. And I'm hoping this wakes some of us up that we need to practice overcoming fear. We need to practice taking risks and pushing the boundaries and delaying gratification and recognizing when we are procrastinating or adding friction to our potential success, right? We don't want that. So thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely.
That. Really, really appreciate it. And sorry for the yada yada. I got a little.
That's great.
Okay.
So you have something, and maybe you've already addressed it. You talked a little bit about this audit. Is that the zero friction gap audit you're talking about, or is that something different?
There are two different audits that we have. One is called the revenue ceiling audit. Okay. And if you go to noahstjohn.com, you can see all these different resources that we have, books, coaching, courses, and so forth. But if you go to breakthroughwithnoah.com, easy to remember, I'm known as the breakthrough coach, right? I help people make more in 12 weeks than they did in 12 months while winning your life back. So breakthroughwithnoah.com, that's called the revenue ceiling audit. So one of the things I'm known for is helping entrepreneurs and franchisees and franchisors to break through their income ceiling, their revenue ceiling, right? And get that, I call it that hockey stick growth, right? You're kind of going along like this, and then we put in my power habit system and whoop, you just go through the roof. So that is at breakthroughwithnoah.com, the revenue ceiling audit. And it's a complimentary, it's a free audit. And you just answer a few questions. And then, you get on a Zoom call with me or one of my coaches, and we'll, walk through really what's holding you back right now, meaning the hidden friction. And number two is we'll lay out a 3-step plan to really break through that revenue ceiling. So that's all at breakthroughwithnoah.com.
Okay, thank you. Pre our recording, I asked you a question. I wonder if I can ask you while we're on camera now. And that was around the theme of your life when you look back. And I'm probably not saying this perfectly. But you said your theme was avoiding poverty or something to that.
Escaping poverty.
Escaping.
Yes, escaping. I couldn't avoid it. I was born into it, but I wanted to escape it, definitely.
So is that still driving you today? Meaning I'm going to escape. I'm going to make sure I never get in that bear trap again. Is that still driving you today?
I'm sure it is at some level. Yeah. I mean, I don't work as hard as I used to. Let's put it that way. I'm 58 right now. I've been married 18 years to my beautiful wife, and we really do. We've created a beautiful life together. We have a beautiful home, which because of using my own system, I was able to pay off the mortgage 27 years early on, this home. But I started in 1997 in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 to my name, no money, no connections, no sales, no marketing experience, no business acumen or anything. So, I literally did start from nothing. So to be here now, yeah, it took a lot of work. So now I'm at the point where I'm very privileged to be able to speak and coach and train and, write books. In fact, my wife and I are coming out with our first children's book, later this year, and I'm very excited about that, teaching kids about, how to literally change their brain, very, very simply. But so, yeah, I mean, I certainly don't want to go back to poverty. Yeah. But, I think we're, and, you never want to get complacent, but it's nice to not have to work and as hard as I used to, and to really be able to choose the clients that I'm able to serve. And, it's a nice feeling.
It's like the purpose evolved, which we have noticed with very successful people, that the purpose originally could be escaping poverty, but then it evolves into something, which is help others to escape poverty and to build empires if that's what their ultimate goals are. So it does evolve as we move on, and it sounds like that's also what happened to you.
Yeah.
So before we close out, Tracy, I have talked over you like 1,000
No,
times.
no, 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 no.
So sorry.
And I've enjoyed watching you, actually. I've enjoyed the questions and just, watching your brain, the gears move, Rebecca, both of you.
Tracy knows my brain, right?
Yeah, I love it. I think, Dr. Noah, you do so much good that I'm wondering if you can pinpoint like the one most fulfilling thing that you do for your clients. Like what really, like out of all the good stuff you do, what really, like when you put your head on that pillow at night and you say to yourself, wow, today just was the icing on the cake. What is that one thing?
Well, of course, I do love seeing my clients, yes, make more money and yes, win their lives back. I mean, those two things really go together for me and really in a different way than, a lot of people that I see out there because they're basically saying, hey, if you want to make more money, just work 10 times harder, 10 times longer, don't take vacations, don't see your family, don't go to ballet recitals and soccer games and just work, work, work all the time. I'm like, hello? What? I mean, what planet are you on? I want to live, buddy. The purpose of your business should be to fuel your life, not the other way around. You shouldn't live to work. Now I understand that's just my opinion. I'm not saying how anybody else should live, but that's how I feel, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So, I love seeing that. I love seeing people, because as I said earlier, money gives you choices. Money, that's what money represents to me. It's not money is money. It's money is choices. Money is freedom. Like I talked about my freedom lifestyle formula. Notice it's only one fourth of the formula. It's not the whole thing. And but it's important. It's there. You need it, right? To breathe, to live, to live the life that you choose. But to answer your question, I mean, what definitely makes me very happy is that I have had a lot of people to write me on my website, email me, contact me on social media, and say they read one of my books or watched one of my videos, and they decided not to take their own life. They were at that point, like I was, all those years ago, and they heard me or read one of my books, and they said, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make that choice. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's really powerful. So, and I love reuniting families, because let's say, the husband, the dad was working all these hours and now he doesn't have to work all these hours and he's still making more money and he gets to go to those ballet recitals and those soccer games and that's giving families, their life back. And so things like that, just they really do light me up and make me very, very happy and very proud.
Wow.
As
That's
it should. Yeah, that's
yeah.
beautiful.
Wow.
Absolutely beautiful to know that you're making that kind of a difference. I think it really does come down to choice, no choice. And when we realize we do have choice, but we're going to have to take action to express it, right, through freedom or legacy or fun or however we ultimately, it really does come down to that. Having been raised in poverty myself, my parents were missionaries in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and we were extremely poor.
Mm.
And if I showed you a picture of the house we lived in, it's embarrassing. It didn't even have running water. And to know that one now has choice because I made certain decisions, as did my brothers. It's really free. It's really freeing, especially when your blessings overflow as yours have, and now others are being blessed, and those people are blessing others. It's kind of this beautiful
Exactly.
ripple effect. So I really, really appreciate you coming and sharing your heart and your thoughts. One final question for you. The best website or best way to get hold of you, where would that be?
If you want to learn more about my programs, just noahstjohn.com. That's my name, Noahstjohn. If you'd like to book me to have me speak at your event for your team, your organization, your company, just go to booknoah.com. Also easy to remember. Who should we book? Booknoah.com. Easy to remember. And you can book me there. You can see, watch my sizzle reel, see what other meeting planners say about me, and then, just grab a time. And we'll talk about your event and your team and your goals and things like that, and how I can help you reach your goals a lot faster. So noahstjohn.com and booknoah.com.
Fabulous.
Dr. Noah doesn't have the fear of public speaking. Tracy, final words from you, hon.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how do you wrap up such an informative interview? I just want to thank you for sharing. Your heart is in the right direction of helping people. And the fact that you're also sharing, like, okay, we don't want to get online and broadcast our secret sauce, but you shared so much with us today that I really appreciate it. I know that our listeners are going to want to follow you. They're going to want to reach out to you because you're just very generous, and because your products really seem to work. They really seem to work. It's difficult out there when everybody says, oh, follow me and I can do this and I can help you achieve this. But you really give that formula for success. And I think that you're in a category all your own.
Oh,
So
thank you.
you. Yeah.
Thank
you. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Dr. Noah, and thank you to our listeners. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and make sure that you're sharing Dr. Noah's interview. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.